Over the time I've spent trading CS2 items, I've made a lot of mistakes, and it's cost me a fair bit of money when it adds all up. And so when I started trading, if I had someone telling me these 5 things, I would literally be sitting on more cash right now, which I don't think I'd be complaining about. And so the goal with this video is to make sure no other traders make the same mistakes I do, whether you're brand new to trading or you have years under your belt. We'll get into it right after the sponsor. SkinsMonkey is an automated trading bot that's perfect if you want to swap out your skins fast and safely. They've got plenty of filters and plenty of items to choose from, so once you found something that you like, make sure to enter my code SPAGHETTI and you'll get cash back up to $5 on a $100 trade, as well as a 35% deposit bonus, which is 5% more than regular with code SPAGHETTI. But if you refuse to spend any money, go to the freebies section and they run giveaways there all the time, so it's definitely worth checking out. Thank you to SkinsMonkey for sponsoring this video. Alright, so the first thing I wish I knew when I started trading is to completely avoid any quote-unquote special items. And so that includes unique floats, low floats, any patterns whatsoever, even including fade percentages. Now, let me explain. So the main problem I have with these special items is that it takes so long to sell for the price that it actually deserves. And so it makes it very rarely worth it to actually charge a premium for a special part of the skin. And by virtue of that, it's very rarely to pay a premium for that skin. Now, don't get me wrong. I've sniped some good deals because I was looking at the fade percentage or the float number, but I never paid more because of those things. I simply paid what was already a good deal without the floats or the patterns. The only exception I would make for this rule is gloves specifically, because they have very noticeable differences between marginal float values. And so a low float field tested will go for way more. And so as long as you familiarize yourself with these prices, it can be pretty lucrative. But that's not something I do because I don't end up buying gloves a lot anyway. But moving on to the second thing that I wish I knew when I started trading, and that's simply to avoid low ticket items as much as possible. Now, there are definitely strategies that make this work. The only problem I've found is that they're really hard to scale because of how much effort you have to put in. But for myself, I don't use those strategies. And so there's pretty much 2 reasons why I prefer expensive skins. Firstly, the obvious one, you make more money per trade, and so it makes it more worth your time. Then the second one is that they're slightly less liquid because not everyone can afford a $500 skin, which generally means there's better margins because fewer people are competing for it. And so it's the best of both worlds. You make more money, you get better margins, why wouldn't you do it? Now, moving on to number 3, and that's speed is king. This is one I stole from Alex Ramosi, but generally the draw of trading is that it's compounding interest, which is in the long run where you make your money. And so your goal should be to make as many trades as you possibly can within a given time span. And by doing so, you want to list your items as soon as possible once they're off cooldown, even if it's for a slight loss. I found myself holding onto items for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, just because I didn't want to lose money on them, which in the end costed me more money because that's time I could have been gaining money with the money that was sitting in my account. Alrighty, moving on to number 4. This one's a simple one, but also a big one, and that's to bookmark any of the sites that I frequently use and add them to the home screen on my phone just so I have easy access to them. And you may be saying, well, that's not very useful. How did that help your trading? Well, it stops you from losing your account. If you didn't know, there's a bunch of scams going around where they have fake links of reputable sites in hopes that you sign in and they can steal your password. And so this isn't me wishing I did this out of convenience because it's so much easier. It's also purely out of safety, because then I'm never risking anything. I don't click on anybody else's links. I just go to my home screen, click on the app, or click on whatever bookmark I have. Highly recommend doing it if you haven't already. Now, moving on to number 5, the grand reveal. The most important thing I wish I could tell myself when I started trading, and that's just to avoid withdrawing any of my money from any of my accounts. It hurts me inside, but when I started trading, I was literally withdrawing my money every single time I made a sale, and that would go straight to my bank account, and I'd have to pay fees on that money, 2 to 3, 4% by the time it reaches my bank. And then when I find another deal, I gotta put money in the sites, which costs 2 to 4%, and then I buy the item. It made it so incredibly hard to profit, and I realized that maybe like a month or 2 in, it just wasn't worth it, with the only exception being the withdrawals I made to take out the capital I initially put into investing and trading. Other than that though, I made so many unnecessary trades and threw away so much money where I didn't have to. But yeah, that's all I got. If any of these tips were useful or you think a friend could find them useful, I would appreciate you sharing it and subscribing because I'm hooking you guys up. Other than that though, that's all. Bye bye.